Welcome to Entrepreneurial Strategies, how to scale your wealth, health, and family well-being. Our podcast focuses on providing valuable insights, inspiration, and strategies that entrepreneurs and individuals are passionate about their business growth and their success. And I'm really excited today. I've got Kim Nmezi, who is the co-founder and co-owner of Tidy Books LLC. It's an outsourced accounting and bookkeeping firm, and she owns it alongside her partner and longtime friend, Heidi Hansen. So I'm very excited to introduce Kim. Kim, welcome to the show. Thanks for being a part of this. Full disclosure, they're actually my bookkeepers, and I can say I didn't really know much about bookkeepers when I first started my business. I was doing a lot of it myself with QuickBooks. I did find a bookkeeping firm that wasn't necessarily the best fit, but then I found Kim, who was referred to me by my CPA, and they own a great business. If you don't have a bookkeeper as a small business, I highly implore you to do it. There's a lot of important details that go into the bookkeeping, and especially as you're giving that to your accountant at the end of the year. So very excited to have Kim. Kim, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got started into the business of bookkeeping.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me. So I have just always, from a childhood age, wanted to be an accountant. I imagine other people have much more exciting aspirations. But honestly, I remember babysitting for somebody in my neighborhood, and I had gone to babysit, and I was there while she was working, and she was a bookkeeper. And I was like, I didn't know you could work from home and have kids at home. And truly, from the age of 12, that's what I was like, that's what I want to do. So that's what I studied in college. I worked for an outsourced firm after college, and then once I had my babies, I just started doing a little bit here and there. And then my partner Heidi was like, hey, let's join forces. And Tidy Books was born just right at the beginning of the pandemic. So here
That's
we
amazing.
are.
So 12 years old, wanting to be an accountant. So how does that work? Was there like a cartoon that you saw with an accounting person with a little visor hat? How did that happen?
I know, it's so funny because even in college, like I had many people tell me like, you have too much personality to be an accountant. But like, I don't know, I just caught the vision of being able to have a career and be a mom. And by no means did I think I would own my own business. I just thought that I'd, do the same kind of thing she was doing. So I feel like it was a very big blessing to kind of grow into where it is. But yeah, that's just what I've always wanted to do.
That's great. And where did you go to college?
The University of Utah.
Okay, you're a Ute. Yeah, go Utes. Yeah, I just actually bought my season tickets to Utah football, so very excited about that.
Oh yes, I've spent many seasons watching football there.
Yeah. As a business deduction, by the way, which I believe is a 50% deduction, as long as there is a business purpose to it. So. Yeah. So tell me about, so that you started working from home. So what year was this when you started working as an accountant from home so you could be with your kids?
About 2016 is when I quit my other job. And
Okay.
even at my other job, I was their only remote person. I just always wanted to do that remote.
So you were already living the dream before the pandemic even happened. And then everybody else was like, I want to work virtual.
Yeah. It really was amazing. And so I just had, like I said, my couple little clients. And so I made one cold call when we decided like, hey, let's make this a business. So I made one cold call, it worked out, and it has just grown from there. So we have grown only just through word of mouth. We don't have any kind of marketing, no website, we've just been referred, and it's been excellent for us.
So that's something I think a lot of small business owners really struggle with, especially word of mouth marketing. I think we all tend, including myself, to resort to putting money into the new age of marketing, which is Google ads, Facebook ads, lead magnets on your website, etc. So the old school way was word of mouth, and I think a lot of people assume that's dead, but you've proven that wrong. So tell me, the first couple of clients that you had, I would imagine those were maybe friends. And then how did the word of mouth take off from there? Did you encourage people to say something, or did you meet some centers of influence that are good referral sources? Explain how that worked.
Yeah, we were fortunate because the first cold call was a serial entrepreneur. And so he, you know how it is. You've got
Yep.
multiple businesses. And so it's like, oh, I can do something here. I can do something here. And then you network with all these other entrepreneurs. And it's a pretty common conversation, I have learned, to say like, oh, I don't have a good bookkeeper. And so they'd be like, oh, we've got somebody. And so it just grew. In fact, it grew far more than either of us planned or intended, and it's been great
Yeah,
with its
yeah.
struggles.
Yeah, and I think, serial entrepreneurs, and I think you were maybe referring to myself. I don't know if I call myself a serial entrepreneur, but as a household, we do have a few different businesses, and I think the ideas are there, right? And then you try and grow, and then you start another business, and I've got plenty of ideas myself for additional businesses, but I think we step into that before we actually had a plan. And then all of a sudden we go, oh, how are we supposed to keep track of all of this? And then you realize how desperately you need a bookkeeper to actually manage that and keep everything separated, and then, have things organized in their nice little LLCs. And so, yeah, that I think there's a definite need there. And oftentimes we discover we need the bookkeeping need too late or when it's already a little bit of a mess.
Yeah, that is true. That does happen. But I think that it just is something that if you can take it off of your plate, and so you can really focus on what you actually want to do and keep it organized on the back end, it just makes such a big difference for you as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is 2016. You had a couple. You started growing, and let's maybe get post-pandemic. Let's first talk about what happened in the pandemic. What did you see a rush of additional word of mouth referrals? Because it seems like there would be a business that would really benefit from a pandemic, or from what I should say, the virtual, everyone going virtual, and maybe job changes or starting new companies.
Yeah, it is true. And so many people started their own businesses during the pandemic. And so, yes, we absolutely did. And especially for us, we kind of market to those smaller businesses, which also means that we're kind of like more affordable. And so a lot of like bookkeepers price themselves out of the small business. And that's really where we like to be. That's kind of our niche of just like get in once a month or once a week, or, and keep things going. So we just really have figured out what kind of client works well for us, and it's been great.
Yeah, and you mentioned that's a small business, so maybe share a little bit more of like what's your typical client.
Yeah, so we have definitely spent the last year kind of honing in on that. And so everybody, at first we're like, say yes to everybody. That's our marketing strategy, is just say yes.
Yeah.
And so it's given us a lot of opportunity to really see like what does work, what doesn't work. And so for us, we feel like our ideal person is like somebody that just needs us, like I said, once a month, once a week. Those bigger like daily clients have been a little bit harder to manage, frankly. Like for sure, having people on staff, that's been our biggest struggle. So being able to staff those other types of clients that don't need quite as much like immediate response and immediate attention has been our sweet spot.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned the staffing struggle. So how exactly do you attract staff as you scale?
Yeah, we had such good luck in the beginning. So like, in fact, the woman that I babysat for as a 12-year-old, she was one of our first contractors. So she worked for us. And my mom, she's been a bookkeeper her whole life too. So between those two, influences, that's kind of what really led me down this path. And so my mom was our very first contractor, and she still works, like 5 hours a month for us.
That's so great.
Yeah, so we had excellent luck in the beginning, and like a mom at the school, like, oh, I'm looking for a job. It's really hard to find a good paying job as a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
To find something that's, a little more involved and utilizes an education, and, and so that really was when I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to provide an opportunity for like moms to be able to have a meaningful employment. And so that was kind of the path we went down. but we unfortunately did not have continued luck forever. People are hard. I did not realize that people would be the biggest struggle of owning a business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, staffing it is a struggle, especially now in the sort of the economy that we're in, which is, people do want the best of all worlds. And so I think there's always one, at most companies right now, people are struggling with employees with 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And so it can be a it can be a big challenge, especially when you're maybe not in the same space. You're not in the same building, right? It's virtual. So it creates a little bit more distance where it might be easier for someone to maybe not stick around, And so
yeah, that's true. But oh, sorry.
I was just curious if you 1099 them, or are they actually working for you? Are they W-2?
Yeah, so we had just 1099 employees for quite a while, and only just in the last 5 months we've switched to W-2. So we have some of each now. So we have 2 full-time W-2 employees, and then we have a handful of contractors that work part-time.
Okay. And do you ever outsource any work, say, or maybe refer out any clients that might not be a fit, or people that come to you that might not be a fit? Do you have others that you're able to lean on?
Yeah, we do have a pretty good network, and we're in a coaching program now to build our business. And so that's a whole network of people across the country. So that has been excellent. It's been a big change for us to be able to really collaborate with others that are kind of going through the same thing, understand the same struggles, and we can just kind of work with each other, because not everyone's a fit for every company.
Sure. And that's really interesting. I mean, I've always leaned on coaching myself. Coaching is, I think we all need it, right? We can get in our silos, especially when we're smaller businesses. And so we're in our own little silo. We may not understand how others are doing it. And so, coaching really becomes important there. And so what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned from the coaching that you were actually able to then take and implement into your business?
Oh man, and I saw as I was looking through your content that the processes piece, that was for sure what we were missing. That was, we had grown so quick and so much, and we were barely keeping our heads above water. We didn't, we had good people, but we didn't have good enough processes.
Yeah.
So Heidi and I went from working, our vision was to have a nap time side hustle. Our kids are sleeping for 3 hours and we'll work. And then before we knew it, we're working 50-hour weeks. And that was not fun.
Yeah.
So we just didn't have the processes in place to be able to pass it, regardless of how good your people are. If there's not a good process, nobody can do it but us.
Yeah.
So that was our biggest hurdle.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important thing you just mentioned, because I think a lot of us small business owners, we know the work, right? We know how to do it. And so we tend to keep leaning back on ourselves to do more and more and more. And that's, it feels like that's the only way to growth, is to force growth through working on it. And it takes time. And I'm reading a really great book right now. I just finished a really great book called Automate Your Busy Work. And it's by the founder of JotForms. And he basically spells it out of how to create workflows, how to make workflows run your life. And so setting up, if I do this task, okay, how do I specifically do that? And then in that process of start to finish, what you start a task and something triggered that, and you have an end goal in mind of what you want to have the outcome be. And then you fill in the steps along the way. But more importantly, then you can figure out what can be automated. What can technology do for us? Because technology can do a whole lot. And so in this book, he actually gives you the resources of technology companies that you can use to do so many different things. Highly implore everyone to read that book. But it's important to have something running our life for us, so that we don't have to think about it as much, right? And then we can utilize resources to help us along that way. But yeah, it's really important to do that, because otherwise we get caught up doing everything ourselves. And then we may lose sight of consistency, because we did it one way for someone over here, but somebody else got a different process. So having those processes written out can be vitally important. And it seems like that's a big factor to what's really changed your business for the better.
Yeah, it really has, and we are absolutely still in the growth process and in the refining process. So I feel like it is a never ending.
It is a never ending process. Yeah, yeah. I think another thing, at least something that's been challenged to me early in my career, is building something up, tearing it back down, building it back up, tearing it back down. And I think that's the evolution of an entrepreneur is constantly refining, building, and then scaling back, and then building again, but better. So you're not alone.
Yes, you learn a lot.
Yeah. And so you do this from home. I know that you wanted to do this, with being around your kids and having that be a big part of your life. You described it as a stay-at-home mom, basically, with this fun side job that just kind of grew into an actual, like a bigger project. So tell me what that journey's like right now. What does your day-to-day look like, and how does your family, how are they involved in that, and how's that support for you?
Yeah, I think that we're very fortunate. Both Heidi and I, we started, like I mentioned, as just wanting to work a couple of hours. And so neither of our families were like counting on our income, which I do think made a very big difference when we were starting. There wasn't all of that pressure of like, we've got to find somebody. And so it just grew organically and naturally. And both of our spouses have been so supportive. But there have absolutely been growing pains, right? Like, oh my gosh, you don't go to the grocery store. Like, oh, we're eating quesadillas for dinner again. That kind of stuff has been like a big learning curve for all of us. But we've tried to keep our husbands like super involved, and so we'll go to dinner and like, okay, where do you see the business? And everybody loves to see the success, but there are absolutely those pain points of working all the time. It definitely makes a big difference. But I do feel like we're like finding that balance now. And so we've spent a lot of time, like starting in even February, like we want to spend the summer with our kids. And so we've been trying to prep our clients, like, hey, we're not going to be around as much in the summer. Our team is great. They're going to handle you. So we really made sure we had a good team in place so that starting in June, our goal is to only work 10 hours a week. So it hasn't quite hit that yet, but we are on our way. Like, we are turning a corner for sure. And so we've stopped no more clients. We stopped our sales pipeline like in May, and we won't onboard anybody until September. So we just really tried to set a few boundaries that we can spend the most time with our kids and enjoy the time that they're home. It just goes by so fast. Yeah,
and we deserve that as entrepreneurs. I mean, what's the point of building a business if you're not going to be able to enjoy that? You work for yourself for a reason, because guess what? You don't have to say, I'm taking a month off. Do I have enough vacation time, right? You own the business. You can do that. And so it's really important, not only as a refreshing the mind and becoming, coming back better because you've been able to get that peace of mind, have some fun, enjoy your family, because family really is what's there at the end of the day, right? That's the most important. And so I'm very curious, as you were in this learning process of trying to do that, A, how did your clients react? And B, what were some of the things you put in place to be able to do that, to set aside the work, either delegate, or how did that work?
Yeah, it's a good question. So almost all of our clients were super supportive, and everybody is super supportive, but there's a little bit of that attachment to like, but you're the one that's been doing the work, and like, I don't really want to talk to your employee, I want to talk to you. And so we've just been working really hard. First of all, our team is amazing, and so we have full confidence in them, and so we just really try to involve them in all of the things so that our clients have confidence in them too. And if anybody has, like, we just keep that line of communication open. And so we do have one client that's like, oh, I really want, this invoicing done a certain way, and you're the only one. And so we've just worked really hard to build an excellent process that we can pass off. And so we have everybody on board, and I think that we're learning a lot for sure. We just figured let's just see what falls apart, and then that will tell us where to focus our energy.
That's
So,
incredible. That's incredibly intuitive. That's very, very smart. Yeah. No. I'm serious. If you see what falls apart, then you know where the kink in the chain is, right? And then you can fix
right.
that. And I think too often we're so scared of anything like that happening, and so that forces us to continue to have to be handcuffed to our business. So I think that's really great, and I think you have there's an important lesson in there of being able to rely on others and being able to treat your employees as if they're part of the business. And I think a lot of small business owners, we have a bit of a control issue, right? We're it's a bit of an ego thing too, right? We're the only ones who can do this. I can't rely on my employee to do this because they can't do it like I can. Well, maybe they can't, but you might be able to teach them how to do it pretty close, right? So that you can actually get a break and spend your life like actually enjoying it. So it's great.
Yeah, it is interesting because I never ever wanted to own a business. So my dad owns a business and they're coming up on their 40-year anniversary. And so my mom did the bookkeeping for him always, and so that's just what they did. And I just watched how much work it was. It's like I would never own a business. Like I have said that so many times in my life. And so never was this like on my vision board. But I see the benefits. And my parents even said when I was like, why would you own a business? It's so hard. You're taking calls on vacation. Like you can never separate completely. And like, oh, but it's given us so many opportunities. We'd do it again in a minute. And I'm seeing that now. It's like, oh, this is why people do it.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
It's a lot
It
of
is.
work, but it is awesome.
It's a lot of work. It is really awesome when you make it awesome, because I think we can take something that was awesome and quickly turn it into something that was not awesome. So it's there's plenty of perks. And so you talked about your vision board. I'm curious. So what's on the vision board for Tidy Books? What's on the vision board for Tidy Books in the next couple of years, and then long term, where do you want to take this?
Yeah, we have talked about that a lot. And truthfully, we think a lot in terms of time with our kids' ages, right? Like in 3 years, like my oldest is going to be driving. And so it changes a lot when you're setting your goals.
Yeah.
And so I think that the biggest thing for me anyways is that I would like to truly just be able to work on the business and not do any client work, because then I would know everything is functioning. Even if I take a month off, everything is functioning. And if I just step away, it's fine. So that is the number one thing on my vision board. And like I caught a couple of glimpses of like, it's possible. We're just not quite there yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you think it might take to be able to do that?
Well, we are for sure on the path, but we're implementing all of these different programs. So we're in this coaching group that I mentioned. She's amazing. Her name's Alyssa Lang, and she built this whole program around building processes for bookkeepers and accountants. So it's just in our industry, and she is incredible. And so I can see once we get like the things implemented, we can absolutely do it. We're just still in the process.
Yeah. I think we're all still in the process.
Yeah, one day it's like, this is amazing, and the next day it's like, let's burn it to the ground and run away.
Yeah. And so what like the longer term vision, what does that look like? Do you want Tidy Books to always be around? Do you want it to be, a 100 employee firm, and then maybe you just, sell your share of the company out? Or is it that just one day you're going to pass over the reins and step away to be with the family?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And the fact that I don't have a solid answer is probably not great. But we've talked about that. We've talked about, growing it big enough to just sell it. But we've also talked about like, oh, but we can do it into retirement, and our spouses can, help work here, and our kids can work here, and it'll just take us through forever. Because I love what I do. I love working with entrepreneurs and seeing different industries. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So maybe in 6 months I might have a different answer when things are streamlined.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe it'll always be stressful.
Yeah.
How have you found it?
It depends on when you ask me, right? If you ask me right now, I think I'm in a bit of a stressful stage, and a lot of that is just growing pains, and then trying to figure out how can I teach some of the nuances of the business that can help me step away from those, and it's really just boils down to, Mike, just take the time to do it. And so I have blocked out all of next month to continue to refine the processes, the systems, do a little bit more teaching with folks that work with me, and I guess keeping track of what that long-term vision is. And so I have a reminder here right in front of me that says the 3 things I need to focus on at all times, which I can easily lose sight of because of the daily tasks. And so it's planning work for my clients, furthering my education, and marketing my business. And then below that, I have automate, eliminate, delegate. So because everything else that comes in, if it's not one of those 3 items, it can either be automated, eliminated, or delegated. And then I just need to take the time to figure out how to do one of those things with whatever that might be. It's there. It doesn't mean I always do that, because I always seem to find a reason why I need to step in and take care of it. But those are the 3 main focuses. And then I also have, as a reminder, everything that pops in, and this came from the recent book that I read, is this a workflow? So whatever popped up that's taking my attention, is it a workflow? Meaning create a process that I don't have to think about, how do I do this? Or how did I do that? I don't quite remember. There's steps that show me how to do it. If it's not a workflow, should it be a workflow? And then the third question I have up there is, can I automate this? So is it something that technology can just replace for me? And so those are the reminders to stay focused on my long-term vision, and make it fun to be a business owner again, because I'm taking myself out of the equation. And I think that's really hard to do, which is why I have reminders right in front of my face. So important for all small business owners, I think. And we're all in that learning process, which is the whole part of the Entrepreneur Strategies podcast, is really to learn from one another. How are we doing these things? I think the most important thing I've heard today is your journey in learning exactly what I just talked about and how to do that. I think what's so amazing for you is you were able to create this business already before having those items in place. I mean, you, by word of mouth, which is just unreal. I mean, can you teach me how you did that by word of mouth? So amazing. And keeping focus on the family. And that's truly, truly amazing. So to wrap this all up, something I asked all my podcast guests is, when you think, let's say fast forward 20, 30 years. And for you to look back on your life 30 years from now and look back at your life and say, that was life in perfection, meaning this is what was truly most important and brought me the most satisfaction in life. What would that have been?
Absolutely. For me, it's experiences with my family.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you mentioned to me before we got started that you're camping right now. So you are practicing what you preach, which is so incredible. I mean, you are out there camping with your family, and you're at a library just to do this podcast, and then back to your family. So thank you, and I feel honored that you did that. But you're really practicing what you preach. You're living your message.
Thanks. It's fun to do. It's easy to do when you're an entrepreneur. Easier to do anyways.
That's right. Yep. You're
in charge.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah. Well, Kim, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been such an honor to have you here. You are an incredible bookkeeper. I can say that firsthand, and Tidy Books is a fantastic company. If you're a small business owner and you don't feel like you're getting what you need with your bookkeeping, if you're trying to do it on your own through QuickBooks, which please stop, don't do that, and hire a bookkeeper. And if you have multiple businesses, so important to keep everything separated, and that could be very easily commingled. It can be very easily not tracked when you have multiple businesses, and it can become a very potentially big issue to the IRS. And so very important to have a bookkeeper. Kim, if anyone wanted to get a hold of you, what they want to learn more about Tidy Books, where could they find you? How do they get in contact with you? And where does that process start?
Oh, thanks, Mike. Yeah, so if you would be interested in talking to us, you can send us an email at hello@TidyBooksLLC.com.
hello@TidyBooksLLC.com. Great.
Yep, that's it. That's all we got right now.
That's perfect. That's direct communication to you guys. So that's the better route of going than saying, hey, check out my Facebook page and then figure out how to get a hold of me. So, all right. Well, thank you, Kim. Thank you so much for being here. I'll let you go so you can get back to your family. This has been a terrific conversation. I learned a lot, so I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I did too. Thank you so much, Mike.
All right, no problem. Take care.
You too.